Bringing some business news on the programme. Stephen is joining us here in set. Stephen, you're starting with Facebook, of course, that news that's been rolling around for a couple of days, really. I mean, the social network, though, emerging financially quite a lot better off after Mark Zuckerberg's performance.
That's right. We'll talk about this share price movement in just a moment. But it was more than $17 billion that was added to the value of Facebook from the 2 days of testimony by Mark Zuckerberg. He faced a grilling over the data harvesting scandal, the spread of fake news on Facebook, and what sort of regulation the company should face. Well, investors pleased with his performance. Facebook shares rising by around 0.8%, as you can see there in trading yesterday. That follows a spike of 4.5% on Tuesday. It's even worth a few billion to Mark Zuckerberg himself. Shirley Sitman has the story.
As Facebook's CEO was grilled in Congress, this is how its share price evolved. The company, which is facing a major data breach controversy, saw its market value jump by more than $17 billion. Investors reassured by Mark Zuckerberg's way of accepting possible change without making any specific promises.
My position is not that there should be no regulation, but I also think that you have to be careful about what regulation you put in place.
Will you make the commitment to changing all the user default settings to minimize to the greatest extent possible the collection and use of users' data?
Congressman, this is a complex issue that I think deserves more than a one-word answer.
Well, again, that's disappointing to me.
Disappointing for some, maybe, but Zuckerberg's line of answering was largely expected.
The bottom line is that his platform, like many social media platforms, is monetized on the basis of the trading of private information. That's a big part of the way that they make money. There is an incentive, obviously enough, in a capitalist system to make as much money as you can. And so these promises ring a little bit false.
Share price gains made over the past 2 days have allowed Facebook to limit its losses due to the Cambridge Analytica scandal. After the testimony, its stock remained 10% below where it stood before the scandal, a decline that has wiped out about $50 billion in shareholder wealth.
Next, the city of Paris is taking Airbnb and its German rival Wimdu to court over their operations in the city. The Deputy Mayor for Housing says the rental companies aren't obeying the law for those type of rentals. In particular, he says they haven't removed listings from landlords who fail to register their properties with City Hall. Only 16% of Airbnb listings in Paris have the required registration numbers on their ads. That's a legal requirement since December of last year. City authorities are seeking fines of €1,000 per day for each non-compliant advertisement. Turning next to the price of oil, which is continuing to creep up over tensions in the Middle East. On the international benchmark Brent crude, oil is trading at its highest level since November 2014. This is what's happened to oil prices over the past year. Last June, a barrel of oil was around $45 a barrel. Today, it's up over 72, being pushed up over time. Let's take a look at the price of Brent a short time ago and how it's been moving on the markets in the past 2 days. It's still over $72 a barrel, up by 1/3% in today's trading. Meanwhile, New Zealand has banned all future offshore oil and gas exploration. The country's Prime Minister announced the move as part of a package of measures to tackle climate change. That's despite the fact the oil industry there employs some 11,000 people. There are currently 22 active licences for offshore drilling in New Zealand. They won't be affected by this. Greenpeace has hailed the decision as the end of the age of oil. Well, let's take a look at what's happening on the stock markets for you next. And oil price moves were a big factor for investors in trading. We've got oil and gas companies leading the gains at the start of trading in Europe. Pretty flat, though, as you can see, across the board. London, Paris and Frankfurt, just very small moves up, not moving the percentages at the start of trading. Over in Asia, we had falls across most Asian markets. Oil prices and trade tensions weighing for investors there. We've got the Hang Seng in Hong Kong down by 0.8%, Shanghai Composite down just a little bit more than that as well. Well, finally, for me, the slow decline of the personal computer is continuing. Industry researcher Gartner says that worldwide PC shipments have now been falling consistently for 3.5 years. Just under 62 million units were shipped in the first 3 months of 2018. Gartner says the decline is down to lower demand in China and the US, while many companies have delayed upgrades to their existing machines. 2018 was meant to see a revival in the PC market. Anyone seems to be seeing it, though, is the manufacturer Dell. They've seen an increase of more than 6% in their shipments. It's true that we're not buying as many PCs as we used to. I think apart from work, I don't use one anymore.
No, I do have one at home, but I mean, my kids have all got iPads.
Exactly.
Big difference. Thank you very much, Stephen Carroll, with Business here on France 24.